This meeting is being recorded.
Perfect. All right, Jana, I think we're good to let folks in.
Let everyone in. Admit all.
Janet, hello.
Hello.
So I assume you are the host, correct?
I am the introductory person.
Oh, okay, very good.
Did you have a question?
No. I just thought that we are a little bit late, right? It was supposed to start a minute ago.
Yes, we have a waiting room and we're letting people in as we're getting ourselves organized, which we are right now. So thank you for making an honest lady out of me. I'll introduce myself. My name is Janet Thompson. I am the executive director of the VHL Alliance, and I've been on board for a little over a year now. And I wanted to thank everyone for joining us. We quickly assembled this webinar with our friends at the CDMRP program because of the tight turnaround time and approval time from our lawmakers. So I really appreciate having everyone here to pose some questions, to learn about the program and how it impacts research in VHL in particular. So with that, I wanted to hand this webinar over to Dr. Cecilia Dupichet. She is the program manager of the peer-reviewed medical research program at the CDMRP. And she is going to spend the next few minutes going into great detail about the PRMRP and how VHL research now nests itself specifically into that program. If you have any questions, we encourage you to wait until the end to pose those questions, or you can place them in the chat. So without further ado, Dr. Dupichet, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon now. It is a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate the invitation to come here and broadcast our funding opportunities to this group. Today, so I am, as Janet introduced me, I am Cecilia Dupichet. I'm the program manager of one of the 35 programs under a funding organization that falls under the DoD that is called Congressionally Directed Medical Research Programs. I am here accompanied today by some folks from our PAO office. I think Jenny Mattard-Young is here because this is being recorded. We have our PAO office join us. And I also have the Deputy Program Manager for the Peer-Reviewed Medical Research Program, Catherine. She is here and she is ready. If you have any questions while I'm speaking, I can't multitask that much, but Catherine will be there and she will be answering the questions for you. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to start with an overview of CDMRP. I think it's not everyone that knows our organization very well, so I'm going to give a brief overview of CDMRP. Then I'm going to go into the program cycle and our peer review and programmatic review process, how we select the proposals that you're going to submit to us for funding. I'm going to talk a little bit about our program. VHL is a topic area that is assigned to one of the programs at CDMRP. Our structure can be a little bit complicated, so I'm going to go through that so you can understand which program that you would have to select when applying for us. And then I'm going to go over our funding opportunities and the application process. And I'll finalize with some tips for a successful application. All right, next slide. So this is the vision and mission of our organization. We want to transform healthcare through innovative and impactful research. The word impactful here has a true meaning. We're not just doing research for the sake of research. We are doing this so we can have a true impact in the patients of those living with the disease and the conditions that are assigned to us as programs. And we do that by responsibly managing collaborative research that discovers, develops, and delivers healthcare solutions for service members, their families, veterans, and the American public. Keeping in mind here that all encompasses the military health, That is a broad term. It is a term that we will be discussing throughout the slides of this presentation. But just so you know, it does include not just active duty service members, but also families, veterans, and in our congressional language, we do also have the inclusion of the entirety of the American public. And that's important. As we discuss, you will see how you are going to send in some documents to support the importance of your proposal to military health. Next slide, please. This is our star graph. It really summarizes our organization. It's the who, the what, the where, and the how. So we started in 1992 through breast cancer advocates that went to the Hill to bat for more research funds. So they weren't really happy with how research was being conducted under the NIH, under NSF. They were seeking to have a seat at the table, to be participants, to really have a voice in the selection process and in the proposals that are being funded with government funds. So they went to the Hill, they got an appropriation of over 100 million at the time. And they went to several funding organizations, said, we want to partner with you. We want to have these programs, but we also want to be part of the process. So the NIH turned them down, NSF turned them down, and then lo and behold, the commanding general at the time of USMRDC said, absolutely, we will do this. And that's how the organization was stood up. That was the first program. We have steadily grown since then, and we are now at 35 programs. Like I said, we like to fund innovative and impactful biomedical research. So there are other funding organizations that are more focused on basic research. We are here looking for impact, what brings the best solutions to the patients living with the disease and condition, keeping in mind that it's because of the patients, it's because of advocacy groups that this organization was stood up to begin with. We can fund anywhere in the world, so different than the NIH, we're not just restricted to United States. We can fund institutions anywhere in the world. And we select our proposal using this two-tier review process, which I will be discussing later on in further slides. Next slide. Here are some hallmarks of the organization. I think if you're going to apply for funding for us, it's important to understand what the organization, how we operate, what we stand for, right? So the first thing that I think is very important for us to highlight is that we do not request these funds. These funds are added to us by Congress as targeted research funds. We obligate our funds upfront, different than the NIH. So because we have an yearly appropriation, these are going to be obligated already upfront. We maximize the funding available for research, and we do that by having very low management costs. It's one of the lowest compared to other funding organizations. And we have a website that maintains our transparency and accountability. If you go to our website, there are going to be several pieces of key information that you're going to find comparing how much was funded that year, the proposals that we received, who are the ones that proposed, and our funding rate. So our website, we pride ourselves in being very transparent. One of the things that we do since the beginning of the organization is to integrate consumers. And by consumers here, we mean individuals living with the disease and the condition, or sometimes they're caretakers. The definition is quite broad here. And they are integrated as part of this process. They have an equal vote as the scientist reviewer. And this is important for you to keep in mind while you're drafting your proposal. Sometimes a different take, a different perspective might be more successful in a program under CDMRP, right? We collaborate with other funding organizations. We do have some sort of co-funding, not in the sense of the financial co-funding of the word, but we do complement other funding organizations. We work together with them, and we do check for duplicative funding. So that is something that we will not fund something that has been already funded or is underway of being funded in other funding organizations. Next slide. We can adapt because we have an yearly appropriation. We can adapt our strategy each year. So you will see this year is the second year there has been a change in the topic area, right, for VHL. So we can adapt that. We can make sure that we have the outreach for the specific consumers that we need, the advocacy groups, and that's because of the way that our appropriation comes in and how we are committed to. We are tasked with following congressional intent. Our opportunities, they are our funding opportunities, they are publicly announced and they are competed. So we do not provide competitive advantage to performers. Unlike the NIH, we do not work with potential performers to tailor their proposals to our funding opportunities. We have very comprehensive funding opportunities. They are put out in the community, and that is exactly to maintain a separation between the performers and the program office, so we can make sure that we are soliciting and for the best research that's out there. And we really do not want to influence, and we cannot influence. It's supposed to be competitive, and we want to see what are the types of proposals that we are receiving. We do have this two-tier review process. There's going to be a slide dedicated to that, so I won't linger on talking about that, but we don't have a pay line. That's what's important. Not necessarily the proposals that are going to be, that have the highest scientific score are the ones that are going to be recommended for funding. And we are here looking for impact, right? We want to fund the research that best meets the needs of the ones living with the disease and conditions, okay? Next slide. So this is our FY24 appropriations. You can see there that they are listed in alphabetical order. But if we were to see this in a different way, we have programs. These are all standalone programs, programs focused on neuroscience, programs focused on cancer, programs focused on injury. You will see that in the column on the right there, you will have the appropriation for each one of these programs. You can see that it varies broadly between programs. So there are some programs that have a $5 million appropriation, and then we have the largest program, which is PRMRP, that has $370 million. Today, we're going to talk about PRMRP. I am the program manager for this one, and I just want to emphasize that these are all standalone programs, so each one of them are going to have their own program managers and their own funding opportunities. So you're not going to find a funding opportunity that is applicable to all programs of CDMRP. If you're interested in any other program that you see listed here on this list, you're going to have to go in the website and find the appropriate funding opportunity for that specific program. So today we're going to talk about the peer-reviewed medical. This is a program that's a little bit different than the ones that you see on the list. It operates under the premise of topic areas. This means that we do not have a prescriptive or a directive congressional language like other programs. Our congressional language is very broad, but it is defined, the scope of this program is defined by what we call these congressionally mandated topic areas. Next slide, please. One of the other thing that is important, all of the programs CDMRP do have, we fall under the DoD, and we do have to look at the relevance and impact to military health. Also knowing that this is a broad term. That's what I was talking about in the first slide. So you will see many of our programs, including PRMRP, is going to request an attachment that explains to you what is the importance of this for military health and how it benefits military service members. Now, there are going to be some topic areas under this program and some programs that the alignment with military health is pretty much straightforward. Some programs, it's a little bit, or some topic areas, it's going to be a little bit more elaborate. And that's where good grantsmanship comes in. I always advise performers to go and speak to the advocacy groups. This program or the topic area is falling under the DoD, is aligned under the DoD for a reason. And for that itself, the advocacy group, once lobbying for these funds, also had to provide a justification. So this is very important that it comes across in your proposal. And this is where I think your advocacy group can really help you with that. You can see some examples there of topic areas and programs that are aligned with the military. You can see if their service members are at greater risk, those are great justifications for you to provide. But there's also dual use capacity of technologies, right? That's also something that you can speak to. Dual use capacity, meaning between the military and civilians, something that you can speak to in your proposal. The main thing is that everything that we fund is here to improve lives, and ultimately it all aligns with military health. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about our program cycle and the review process. Next slide. So this diagram shows our program cycle. There are several milestones that we have to go through before we are able to make an award. you will see there on the left half of this cycle, of this circle there, we start off our yearly program with a stakeholders meeting or a vision setting meeting. We will, just for the sake of this discussion, we'll group them both together. And that's where we devise a strategy, a funding, an investment strategy for next year's appropriation. Like I said, we receive these appropriations yearly. So only once we receive the appropriation, a bill is signed into law, we can release our funding opportunities. And this is exactly what happened. This is why this year we're a little bit delayed. We were under a continuing resolution for several months. So now we were able to release our funding opportunities. And then we go through soliciting open, and that's where we solicit proposals from the research community. Some of our research is going to have a pre-application. All of them, it's going to be a two-step process. It's going to be a pre-application that can either be a pre-proposal that's going to lend it to an invitation letter or a letter of intent. And we will discuss those a little bit further on the webinar. But there's going to be first an initial step where you submit just a smaller version, and you either for us to start planning for our peer review or for you to be invited to submit, and we'll go through that. Then we will go through a second level of review, which is programmatic review. Those will go to peer review, and then after that, we will go to programmatic review. Programmatic review, you can see there, the circle in brown, it's listing programmatic panel. All of our programs, like I said, they're all standalone programs, and each one of them have a board, if you will, of advisors. And those are the individuals that are ultimately going to be making the recommended for funding decisions of the proposals that we receive. So they will recommend, they will score the proposals. And I really encourage you to, depending on which program you're applying, to go look in our website to make sure that, to familiarize yourself with the individuals that are part of this panel. Once we go through the process of peer review and programmatic review, we have a list of recommended for funding, and ultimately the commanding general of MRDC is going to be the approval authority to fund those awards. After that, we enter on the second half. We have a robust team here at CDMRP of science officers that they will be negotiating the awards and will be following all the way to the end of the period of performance, doing report reviews. One thing that I think is important for you to note, at the bottom there, you will see an arrow, and it shows that for us to go through all these milestones that we're proposing here, it's going to take several months, right? This is a very large program. We receive over 1,500 proposals each year. For us to go through peer review of all these proposals and programmatic review, it's going to take several months. So by the time we release our funding opportunities, and until you receive your notice of award, if you receive a notice of award, it's going to take at least 12 to 16 months, okay? So keep that in mind. Plan that, include that buffer in your timeline when you're submitting a proposal to us. Next slide, please. So like I said, all our proposals, once you receive them, they're going to go through this two-tier review process. I think it's important for you to understand what this encompasses, because this is how your proposal is going to be evaluated. So the first time, the first level of review is going to be the peer review. We're all scientists. We know the benefits of peer review. So it's going to go to a panel. They're going to look at the absolute scientific merit of your proposal. And the outcome of that is going to be a summary statement, a document that's going to list the strengths and the weaknesses of your proposal. It's important for you to note here that we are not the NIH. We don't have a Center for Scientific Review. Every year, we are here to meet congressional intent. So every year, our topic areas might vary. And we want to make sure that we recruit the best expertise to be reviewing these proposals. So we do not have standing panels. If this is a resubmission to us, in all likelihood, you're not going to be re-reviewed. We don't have a resubmission per se because we are under congressional intent, right? We have to follow congressional intent. So it might vary each year, but chances are you're not going to be reviewed by the same reviewer that did your review last year. Once we have the proposals that have the highest scientific score, we have a pool of proposals. The ones that have the highest scientific score, they're going to be the ones chosen to go to programmatic review. Now, here's where we have the programmatic panel. Like I said, these individuals, they're listed on our website. Take a look at them. And the point of this is not really to re-review the science. They're going to take your summary statements, the strengths and weaknesses of that proposal. And now we are looking at proposals comparatively, right? We're going to see of everything that we received, all these outstanding proposals that we received, which one best meets the intent of the award mechanism, program relevance, the potential for impact. So here, it's important to understand that there is not a pay line. Not because you received the highest score in scientific review might necessarily be what the program is choosing to fund that year. Next slide, please. Another thing, like I said, the consumers, which are individuals living with the disease and the condition, they participate in both steps of review. So they are also part of peer review, and we also have consumers participating in programmatic review. There are going to, when you submit a proposal to us, there are going to be several attachments that we're going to emphasize to describe it in lay language. This is very important that you hit the mark on that, because our consumer reviewers, like I said, they are a true north. They have participated through the beginning of the proposal, but they also have an equal vote as the scientist reviewer when they're reviewing our proposal. So please make sure to incorporate the important areas of impact in lay language, so they can also be set up for success when evaluating your proposal. Next slide. Now I'm going to enter into the peer-reviewed medical research program. If you remember, I showed you a list. It had 35 programs. We're going to talk about peer-reviewed medical because I think this is what's interest to this group. That's where we have the VHL topic area this year. Next slide. So not all programs started at the same time. Like I said, the first program was breast cancer in 1992. Peer-reviewed medical started in 1999 with an intent from Congress to address diseases and conditions with relevance to military health. So different than other programs that have a much more prescriptive congressional language, PRMRP has a very broad congressional language, which allows us a lot of room in how we manage the program, but it specifically states that we must support research of clear scientific merit and direct relevance to military health in specified topic areas. These topic areas, if we go to the next slide, every year we receive a list of topic areas that are going to be eligible for funding with that year's appropriation. These topic areas, they vary. We do have some long-standing topic areas that have been with the program for 10, 15 years, but we also do have some new topic areas or topic areas that fall off, and then they make a return. CDMRP, our program office, does not have any input in these topic areas. And this is why I like to emphasize these are congressional special interest programs, meaning we don't request for these funds. It just Congress assigns it to us. So we do not have any input on the topic areas received. For a proposal to be eligible for funding under PRMRP, it must specifically address one of these topic areas. So if we go to the next slide, you can imagine that it can be quite challenging for us to manage a program with such large breadth of topic areas and diseases and conditions, right? So one of the things that the program does, we allocate these topic areas in buckets, which we call our PRMRP portfolios, if you will, that they align with the major areas of scientific research. So we take topic areas of similar interest and put them. This allows us to not be comparing apples to apples during doing peer review and programmatic review, right? And also to gather from our stakeholders, which are all of the advocacy groups, what are the most important needs that you need to be addressed that year with the topic area that's eligible for funding with us. So if you go to the next slide. Each one of these portfolios that you see there, cardiovascular health, orthopedic medicine, which has the topic areas that were listed in our previous slide, each one of them, they have strategic goals that were devised in coordination with advocacy groups and other important DoD stakeholders and other external stakeholders, right? These strategic goals, they will provide the direction that we want to go with that portfolio and with that specific topic area. The goals are applicable to all topic areas in the portfolio, but that is the key thing that you're going to have to look at to see what is of interest to the program this year. And that's going to be summarized in those strategic goals. So like I said, to be eligible for funding, you must address a topic area that's by law. By the way that the program functions, you're going to have to choose a strategic goal, a portfolio and a strategic goal as well. So I'll give you further examples of what this looks like. Let's go to the next slide. So you will see here, this is the rare diseases and condition portfolio. These are the topic areas that are aligned to this portfolio this year. And you will see there VHL syndrome as the last topic area listed. But all of these topic areas, they are under the rare diseases and conditions portfolio. And here is a summary of the strategic goals that we want to address this year. You will see that many of these goals, they are applicable to many topic areas. So when you submit a proposal to us, you're going to have, like I said, you're going to choose the portfolio, you're going to choose the strategic goals, and then you're going to choose the topic areas. Next slide. And you will see that these strategic goals, they fall under the chevrons of the continuum of care. We're looking here to focus on treatment, prevention, epidemiology, and it varies between each one of the portfolios. But this will give you a good direction of what the program is looking for this year. It is meant to be like a mix and match situation. Like I said, you can choose one of the topic areas here with one of the strategic goals, and that's how your proposal is ultimately going to be directed towards peer review and programmatic review. You will see that we do have some topic areas that are tools. You can see there computational biology for precision health. We also have some other like proteomics. Those are research tools. We don't have a specific portfolio for them. So what we do is we allocate them all in all the portfolios in a way that you can choose one of the goals choose one of the goals that addresses those. You can use that to address one of those research tools. This is how it comes from Congress. So it is, like I said, we don't have a lot of leeway or input on that, but it will be self-filtered if you choose rare diseases and conditions and then go to computational biology for precision health and then choose one of these goals. You will have to only choose one of the topic areas. So there's not going to be a possibility for you choosing a second one. But if you would like to address that on your proposal and say that it fits several topic areas, that's also applicable. But when you're submitting your proposal to us, you're only going to be able to choose one of the topic areas. Next slide. So each year we execute our strategy, releasing award mechanisms, which we call our funding opportunities. This year we have 6 funding opportunities. All portfolios, all topic areas are eligible to all 6, okay? We'll start off with basic research. We have 2 types of award mechanisms under basic research. We start with the Discovery Award. This is a high impact, high gain, high risk, high gain type of research award. We will provide $275K for 2 years. That's the idea behind it. And we're really looking here for that breakthrough idea, that game-changer idea. We are willing to take the risk on this, but like I said, it should be a high risk, high reward type of proposals. Then we are looking into the Investigator-Initiated Research Award. The direct cost limit for that one is $1 million. And here is going to be the one that most aligns with the R01 of the NIH, okay? And we're looking here for preclinical expansion, replication, comparative studies that validated previously published data. Then we enter into our translational award mechanisms. We have this year an Impact Award. This is new for the program. We are looking here for use-inspired science, something that has the potential for short-term impact on the patients. The direct cost limit for that is $2 million or 2.6 if you come with a partnering option. The next one under that, Chevron, we have the Technology Therapeutic Development Award. This is a product-driven award mechanism. The direct cost limit is $4 million. And the goal of this award mechanism is that by the end of the period of performance, the researcher would be ready to submit an IND or an IDE to the FDA. We move on to our clinical trials or our clinical research. We have the first one. This was a new award mechanism last year. It's called Lifestyle and Behavioral Health Interventions Research Award. We're trying to hone in here, focus all the research that's focused on non-pharmacological therapies, apps, non-invasive devices. This is where looking for quality of life of patients. So this is where this would be the appropriate award mechanism for that. And the direct cost limit is $3 million. And then we move on to our clinical trial award. Our clinical trial award, it has two options. It has a clinical trial with a planning phase where you can submit for 6 months to a year for $500K. We will support while you finalize all your regulatory approvals, and then the trial will be funded as an option, assuming you achieve all the milestones that are set during negotiation, during that planning phase. Or you can come in with a full clinical trial. There is no direct cost limit. This is, like I said, this is a very popular award mechanism. We have the ability with the appropriation that we have at with PRMRP, 370 million. We have the ability to fund high dollar clinical trials. So this is one that we really do receive a lot of proposals. Now, one thing that's important for you to note, all of these, the next slide is going to list the deadlines for all of these proposals. I think it's going to be a little bit later. If you could go back, Janet, one slide. Marissa, there you go. Okay. The deadline for all of them are going to be listed at the end of the presentation. But what I want you to note here is that all of these award mechanisms, except the clinical trial award, will require a letter of intent. So, like I said, all proposals submitted to CDMRP are going to go through a two-step process. A letter of intent is just that. It's exactly what the name says. It's going to be a one-page paragraph that you are going to submit to us saying, I plan to submit a proposal on an impact award that's going to be focused on this, this, and this, so we can start. And why do we need that? This is an administrative step. It's not going to be reviewed. It is an administrative step, so we can start setting up our standing panels, like our peer review panels. Like I said, we do not have standing panels, so we want to make sure that we start soliciting and recruiting the appropriate expertise for these to review the proposals that are going to come in. So all 5 of them, the basic research, translational, and also the lifestyle and behavioral health interventions, only require a letter of intent. I emphasize this because it is not an optional step. If you go to our deadlines and then you end up submitting a full proposal, but you have not submitted a letter of intent, you are automatically disqualified. So please make sure that if you plan to submit a proposal to us, you check off the box of the letter of intent. For a full clinical trial award, this is going to require a pre-proposal. It's different than a letter of intent because a pre-proposal is going to result in either an invitation to submit or a decline, right? And we do this because the clinical trial award is a very elaborate award mechanism for you to put together. It's going to have several documentations that we're going to request of you. And we want to make sure that the ones that we invite are the ones that we're truly considering funding at the end of this cycle. Next slide. So I put a snapshot of our funding opportunities. I think that this is helpful for researchers, for them to see. We are just talking about our funding opportunities, but once you see it on the slide, I think it might be a little bit more informative. So you will see there is on the first page of our funding opportunities, this is an example of a clinical trial award. There's going to be all the dates that are important, the submission and review dates and times. Keep that in mind. I also have a table at the end of this presentation that summarizes all those dates. You will have this table of content that is going to go through all the award information, everything. So the DoD funding opportunities, they are long, they are lengthy, they are long and lengthy for a reason. Like I said, we do not, once we have funding opportunities that are open, we are not going to interact with the performer to tailor their proposal. So all the information that you need is going to be listed there. I want to talk a little bit about our topic areas and strategic goals. We spoke how we're going to mix and match that, but I want you to see a snapshot of what that's going to look like. All of them are going to have the award information. So that's where we describe the intent of the award mechanism. And that's where I recommend that you spend a lot of time figuring out which award mechanism your research proposal is going to best align, right? The intent of each award mechanism is quite different. We are not going to fund something that resembles basic research under our translational mechanism. So do make sure that is all, you invest time in reading these documents. And then here you will see also highlighted the criteria. how we are going to evaluate your proposal is very well listed in our funding opportunities. So what's the criteria that are going to be evaluated against during peer review and during programmatic review? So that's all going to be listed in our funding opportunities. Next slide. So this is how it's going to look. Remember, I showed you a slide just for ease of explanation. It was, we did it in PowerPoint, but this is how this is going to look in the funding opportunity. You're going to have an information of the program, and then we're going to list all the topic areas eligible for funding. So you're going to have a header of rare diseases and conditions. We're going to say that the applicant must choose one of each. There is a VHL syndrome. It's written, it's there, you're going to choose that one, and then you're going to have to choose a strategic goal. And these are the same strategic goals that were listed on previous slide. It's just with a layout and interface that you're going to see in our funding opportunities. Next slide. Then you're going to go, like I said, spend some time looking at the peer review criteria. You're going to see that we have some scored and some unscored review criteria. They are all listed in decreasing order of importance. Depending on the award mechanism, the impact might be might be the criteria that we're looking at for that will be the highest scored. And we also do list how you are going to be evaluated. So you can see an example there for impact. To what extent the proposed research project impacts a critical problem for the FY24 topic areas. And this will go on for several pages for each one of the criteria that you see listed there. What we do recommend is for potential applicants to go through, draft a proposal and give it to a colleague to make sure, going through that criteria one by one, to make sure that you hit the mark. This is exactly how you will be scored, how the peer review panels are trained to score these proposals. So make sure that you're hitting the mark on all of them. Next slide. Then we're going to go on to the programmatic review. Like I said, also the programmatic review criteria is also going to be listed there. It's going to be less extensive than the peer review criteria. This, because we're looking comparatively at proposals, it's going to list there what are the criteria that the panel is going to be looking at. And you're going to be, it's relative innovation, relative impact. It's all comparative with other proposals. So there's not much to elaborate on these. What I do recommend, like I said, you can access our programmatic panel. Take a look at our programmatic panel members, not access, you cannot have contact with them, but take a look at the programmatic panel membership that we have listed on our website and make sure that your proposal also, I think it's always good practice for us to take a look at the individuals that are going to be ultimately scoring our proposal as well in this second level of review. Next slide. Here is, like I said, the application submission deadlines. This summarizes for each one of the award mechanisms. Just one of our award mechanisms, which is the clinical trial, requires a pre-proposal. That will result in an invitation to submit that you should know by June 17th. All of the others, we just require a letter of intent. And the date for the letter of intent is fast approaching, but like I said, it's May 6th or May 13th. But like I said, this is just a one page that you have a description of the project that you plan to submit to this award mechanism so we can start. But again, do not miss this. This is not an optional step for us. If you do not submit the letter of intent, you will not be eligible to submit the full application. Next slide. So now I'm going to close off talking a little bit about the tips and some resources that we have on our website, just some screenshots of that, and some strategies for a successful application, things that we have seen throughout the years that might be of use to share with this group. So this is the application process overview. You will see that you are going to have an eBRAP account. All are, you can see it's a two-step process. Like I said, you're going to have a pre-proposal or a letter of intent, and then you're going to submit the full proposal. The pre-proposal application is the pre-proposal and letter of intent is always submitted through eBRAP. Like I said, just the clinical trial is going to require the pre-proposal. All the other award mechanisms is going to require a letter of intent. If you are invited to submit your full proposal for the clinical trial. You will know that by June. Note here that there are several steps that's going to require a business office, so that this is very important for you to see once you submit the full proposal. That's going to go through grants.gov. The business official is going to have to submit several documents in that. And then we have a last step, which is a verification period. So this is a period where you cannot submit any further documentation, but you can at least check. So you will not be able to change anything in the project narrative or the budget. But it is before we completely close the deadline to make sure that you reconcile all other documents and that the business official and yourself, you're all coordinating the documents that are there and make sure that you checked all the boxes. Next slide. So if I leave you with one thing from this very long, I know that you guys are tired of hearing my voice at this point, is to read the program announcement carefully. Okay, like I said, we do not interact with performers during this period. So it's very important that you take a look at the program goals. Each one of these programs are going to have their own goals, their own congressional language, the intent of each award mechanism. It's going to be different for all of them. If you're applying for PRMRP, you're going to be focused mostly on the rare diseases portfolio. Make sure that you take a look at the strategic goals that are listed there. Next slide. I think one of the things that we discussed throughout this presentation is the relevance to military health and in all the proposals that we have here and the impact. This is an organization that prides itself for funding high impactful research, not just research for the sake of research. So it is important that you articulate, how will this make a difference? How is this different than what has been funded so far? Innovation and feasibility, I think that these are all criteria that they're going to be evaluated, and you're going to see how they're going to be evaluated depending on the funding opportunity. That is also something that we recommend clearly articulating, like you would do on any other proposal, but focus on impact. I will say that is very important, especially for the proposals that you're submitting this year for PRMRP. Next slide. Planning and timelines and grantsmanship. So absent a great disaster of nature, like a hurricane, or the CDMRP does not provide a grace period and extension. The time, I know that many performers, they're used to the grace period that the NIH gives or NSF. We do not provide that. The deadline is the deadline. And even if it is a minute late, we cannot accept that. So I cannot begin to tell you every year the amount of requests that we receive. I was a minute late, or something happened, or I was in the hospital. We can't. By law, we cannot do that. Our acquisition shop will not allow us to do that. So please keep that in mind when you're planning for a submission with us. Give yourself some buffer, because you will invariably, we all encounter technical difficulties. I encounter technical difficulties just to do a Zoom webinar, right? So give yourself some buffer to navigate those challenges. And like I said, grantsmanship, that goes a long way. Keep in mind that we have consumers that are reviewing this. So make sure that at least the attachments that are going to be reviewed by the consumers, and that's all going to be specified, is clear, it is unburdened by jargon, and that you are speaking to the audience that's actually going to be looking at this proposal. Make sure that you take a look at the programmatic panel membership as well, and that you can address anything specifically in your proposal. Next slide. So on our website, we have a wealth of information. You can start by looking at program pages. This is just a snapshot of the landing page of the peer-reviewed medical research program. You can find there our appropriation. You can find previous, our program book, what type of research that we fund. But also keep in mind, looking at previous funded research doesn't really capture the essence of the program. Each year we change. We have to follow congressional intent. But there is going to be still a wealth of information that you will find on our website. Next slide. You can also subscribe. You can see that's the landing page of the website. There's a mail icon. You can sign up for our listservs. You can sign up to receive any other information from CDMRP. There's going to be a drop-down menu that you can choose from which program you want to receive. If you have an interest in receiving information from a different program that's not the one that I manage, you can click there, and you can be sure that as soon as whenever we have newsworthy communication, you will be notified. Next slide. We also have several webinars that might be of use to you. They are posted on our website. We also have a YouTube page that you will see some informational webinars. And for instance, we have like clinical research and clinical trial funding opportunities. If that's where the direction that you want to take, even though it's not specific to the program that you are applying to, I'm sure that you can benefit from nuggets of information that you will see on these webinars. Next slide. And I will pause here, and I will be happy to take questions.
Actually, I do have a question. So I joined this webinar because of the communication from VHL Alliance. And I thought I would hear a little bit more specific on VHL, but I understand you have to cover many different topics. But this specific question I have is, there is a VHL syndrome, which is caused by loss of function mutation of von Hippel-Lindau gene, which leads to predisposition to various cancers. But there are also congenital loss of function von Hippel-Lindau mutation, which my group has described, which do not cause cancer, but cause erythrocytosis. So Dr. Ji Song, who also is joining this group, and I are interested to define the genomic differences of the VHL gene, which would predispose you either to cancer or erythrocytosis, with an idea that very definition of those which cause erythrocytosis would prevent you from developing cancer. Does this intent of ours fit your program? That's why I was advised by VHL Foundation to join this webinar, and that's why we are joining that. But I'd like to get a more specific guidance, because I really do not know if our interest fits your program or not.
So let me just give you, I'm not sure if I'm going to answer your question in its entirety, but so VHL, first, it's the second year that we have this. Initially, we had VHL with benign manifestations, and it was split between another program at CDMRP, right? Which was the peer-reviewed cancer program, also had a split of that topic area. This year, it is my understanding Congress changed that language. We have to meet congressional intent. So Congress changed the language, and it all falls under PRM. And I think specifically it will be a better situation to address research like yours that you're submitting. So now we have VHL syndrome as a topic area. As long as you can justify that it aligns to VHL syndrome, it is applicable to this program. I don't know if Janet or Marissa, you have anything further that you would like to include or discuss on how the topic area was assigned to the program.
So we will be analyzing, providing you are interested to fund us, analyzing DNAs of patients who have cancer predisposition syndrome and VHL mutations and their relative, whereas those who have also VHL loss of function mutation who seem to be protected from cancer. And so you, as far as you are concerned, that seems to be fitting your program. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes, you are correct. As far as I am concerned, yes. And as far as that justification is included, yes.
Right. And since we already have published on a lot on the erythrocytosis predisposition syndrome, and we have preliminary on cancer, we would be, I think our application may fit the translational program, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you would have to take a look at it. I rather not give you a definite answer without knowing that, like I said, this is not something that I can do right now. But I think once you read the intent of the award mechanisms, it will not be difficult for you to fit into one of them.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful. I think Dr. Ko is muted. I think you are talking.
Sorry, I have a different question. Thank you. Thank you for that whole background, and it is a short timeline. And I have a question about the therapeutics development award. So this is to bring novel therapeutics to IND. I understand that. But the rules of funding, I just wondered whether because of the IND where you need to file it and there's a lot of regulatory processes, so could you include then the cost involved with preparation and filing of the IND and all the consultants as something of direct costs?
Yes, that is
Covered by
something that
direct
many
costs?
performers do end up including, yes.
Okay, and then is IP, intellectual property costs like patent filing fees and those types of fees, because usually they're excluded from these sort of grants. Can that be included as well?
It can be included. We are not excluding those fees.
So this is different from other DoD mechanisms where you do exclude those costs. My
Um,
understanding, having worked
Is
with.
it DoD from CDMRP? I'm not aware that other CDMRP programs exclude that cost.
They tell you have to negotiate that in advance, and patent filing costs are not included. It's one of those things.
Usually it depends on how you're going to do your budget. I would prefer to not, but there are ways that you can include that in your budget. I have seen it included.
Great. So just to clarify that question, because normally direct costs are involved not animal, but experiments that you do in the lab. So consultants and those things are not typically considered direct costs, but this is something in that specific case, it can be a direct cost. That
Yes.
is correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Correct. Any other questions?
A very comprehensive review of it.
I'm sorry, I think it was a bit too long during lunchtime. I think everybody stopped and
Well, we are in mountain time, so.
Yeah, it's morning here, so it's a perfect time.
Oh, okay.
So
Dr.
I
Liu,
have a
did you have a question?
Oh, yes. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity and thank you for the talk. So I noticed that the CDMRP also has this rare cancers program. And then for VHL syndrome, a lot of these manifestation are the cancers or tumors. So just like, can you weigh in, like, for example, if I have a project that study VHL tumors, should I choose either PRMRP or CRP, or either it's fine?
So it is my understanding that VHL is not a topic area under PRC anymore, correct? Is that correct, Janet, right? So now it's all under, and I think there was a movement from the advocacy group to put it all under PRM. So you will not, for you to be eligible to PRC, you have to directly align to one of their topic areas. So I don't think that unless you align to one of their topic areas, your research should be submitted to PRM.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm not sure the best way to ask this. I understand that the applications, again, specific to VHL and specific to the rare diseases and conditions, address one topic area and one strategic goal. If there are additional specific aims that touch on other strategic goals, is this going to weaken the overall application? Some of them have
no.
overlap.
It will not weaken, but I will say you will be evaluated based on the one you choose. It will absolutely not weaken. I think we're all about collaborative research, interdisciplinary research. I think it's going to, but you will be evaluated based on the one you choose.
Okay, great, thank you.
Cecilia, I have a question myself from the patient advocacy perspective. is there a way for our community to see the who is submitting their applications under what topic? Is there, just so that we can share with our community what type of research is being submitted for funding?
So no, the short answer is no. We cannot release anything without PI's prior consent, right? And we do that. That's not. We might be able to share. I think we're trying to include a little bit more of that language in our funding opportunities that we can share with the advocacy groups, the applicants. But we're not going to be able to share you the proposal. We're not going to be able to share what we do have in our website. There's a link, and I can send you the link after, on each one of these programs, with what we call a PI info paper. And that lists all the topic areas, how much funding it was received each year for all of those topic areas, how many proposals we received under each topic area, and how many got funded. You will not have specifics of the investigator, but that information is available, but it will only be available after the cycle closes.
Cecilia, was that other question answered? I didn't want to interrupt there.
Was it answered, Janet?
Yes.
I think it was answered. I think she didn't really like the answer, but it was answered.
No. We want to be compliant, but we also want to make sure that.
And then once the awards are made, because then we're going to go, remember the cycle, we're going to go through all the negotiations. That's going to take some time. Once the awards are made, then it will be listed on our website. And then I can share with you, even if you have problems reaching our website I can share you a spreadsheet. These are all the individuals that were funded under VHL this year. That I can, but it's going to be only after the cycle ends.
So related to that, you said it, but I don't know, my reception was bad. So how long, so for example, we have a June 6th deadline. So, and I know we don't get scores, we just get like a letter saying yes or no, we're funded. So what's the expected time scale between?
So that's for the clinical trial, correct?
I think all the grants, not clinical trial, just the general ones.
So just the general one, you're going to submit a letter of intent. The full application is going to be due by end of, I don't have the.
I thought it was June 6th on what you showed on that slide.
So it's going to be by June 6th. Then we're going to hold peer review. Depending on the award mechanism, we have two. We're going to have peer review throughout the entirety of the summer, right? But then we're going to go to programmatic review. Depending on the award mechanism, we have a first programmatic review that's going to be held in September, a second programmatic review that's going to be held at the end of November. That's all listed in the funding opportunity. You will see there, right?
And then after November.
Then after November, you will receive a notice. Either you got funded or you didn't get funded. If you're applying for the earlier mechanisms, you might receive that letter before, because I'll release it after the first meeting. But that's when you enter negotiation. And by law, we have until September 30th, 2025 to make these awards. So it's not something that's going to be immediate after you receive the letter. It's still going to take several months for our acquisition shop to negotiate and then execute the award.
Thank you.
We had a question come in the chat. I think Catherine might be responding, but it said, I'm assuming the budgets are non-modular, or do we need to justify cost per category?
Catherine, did you respond that?
I hadn't. I was just getting ready to type, but you do have to submit a budget justification that breaks down all of your costs within the various categories.
Thank you. All right, we're coming to an end. Do we have any additional questions at the moment?
And you can feel free to reach out to me. With anything, like I said, I cannot answer specifics about a proposal if it aligns to it, but we will be happy to direct. Jenny's here. She's from PAO. She can direct it to me as well. You guys have her email. So anything that you need, please feel free to contact us. And I wish you all best of luck. We're excited to have outstanding proposals submitted to us this year.
Thank you.
For sharing.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for joining today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the Alliance. We're here to support you.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.